right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Hook the Line. It's been a little while, so we're finally back talking about college basketball again. Probably what a lot of people will argue the second best week of the entire college basketball season just happened. Feast week, it's kind of, you got March, that's the pinnacle. But other than that, these November games, the end of November, Thanksgiving weekend, really show us a lot. Plus, right after that, we get the privilege of getting the SEC ACC challenge, which was a lot closer this year than it was last year. So we learned a lot coming out of this game. So what this video is going to be talking about, we're going to be talking about the five things that we learned, the five biggest takeaways that we had coming out of this past week and a half of college basketball, because there was a lot going on. First things first, though, Yusko, how are you doing?
Doing great, man. A lot of good hoops being played over Feast Week. We know this is like our March and November kind of vibes. Your kind of only real shot at a little bit kind of tournament play, non-conference opponents, right? It's a good little test for these teams. A lot of shifts in the rankings, which is always good to see. A couple conferences looking better than others, which we'll get into, but. Yeah, great. Off to a good start already.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. So we had some massive matchups. Obviously, I think the players era was
Yeah,
the headlining tournament of all that. But like, don't sleep on some of the smaller tournaments. I mean, some of these four-team tournaments delivered. We got Wake Forest buzzer beater, Purdue. Obviously, us being fans, whoop Texas Tech in that. And then we also had the Maui, Jim Maui, always a fun one over there. So players era, though, definitely feel like I learned the most coming out of that one. You got a lot of big time matchups in there. So. Without further ado, we can just jump right in to
yeah,
these five things that we learned. First thing I think we learned was that the Big Ten is elite this year, especially the top. So, looking at it right now, we've got Michigan, you've got Purdue, you've got Michigan State, you've got Illinois, and even you've got like Wisconsin, some other teams that are hanging around in there. But those four, especially, are absolutely elite. I mean, Illinois obviously, had the loss to Bama, which, sets them back a tiny bit, but that team's going to get better. They're a bunch of European guys who've never played with each other. It's
right.
it's a weird style just because it's different than a lot of the freshmen transfer portal. It's some pro players in there. So I think, but what we saw to Michigan in the players era, what we've seen from Izzo this year in a bounce back of them just kind of being consistently dominant, and then obviously Purdue holding that number one ranking.
Yeah, it's funny because as it stands now, it's kind of looking like football and basketball are kind of similar. You have the top of the Big Ten in football is kind of, a little bit more like stronger than the SEC, some would say. But yeah, dude, Michigan had a hell of a tournament. I mean, they didn't look. None of those games were close, and they were all in their favor. The Axels, I mean, that guy's insane. He's probably, you know, definitely in the conversation for a Wooden Award. Mara's grabbing boards. They got a big guy, and then they have the guys that have been on the team for a little bit, like Burnett.
Cadeau's good.
Roddy,
That's a good
yeah,
team.
it's another one. He's like the distributor of the group, but they're good. Obviously, our Boilers are great. I mean, we a lot of people expected that coming in with the core staying intact, and adding guys like Clough and Meyer, so they look really good. Illinois slid a little bit, but I mean, losses are going to happen. It's a long season, a lot of games. Michigan State looks fantastic. Really, Izzo loves his rebounding and defense. That's kind of what they're known for. They've won all their games. They look like they're going to be a tough team to knock out in conference play and down the line in March. So I'm interested to see how the top teams do on the road in conference play. That's a big topic when we talk about college basketball. Is like, can you stay above the lower opponents, not play down to their level? That's obviously a huge point for Purdue, Michigan State, Michigan, right? So that's something to watch looking ahead. But recapping from what we learned from those guys is that they are legit, and we could be looking at a couple deep runs from the Big Ten when we're in March. So good
Yeah.
start for that conference.
Yeah, I mean, certainly Purdue and Michigan look like probably the two best teams in the country. Arizona's obviously got a great resume as well. We're going to find out a lot more also this coming week. I mean, Arizona,
Yep,
Auburn, Purdue's got Iowa State. So we just keep learning more and more. But these tournaments where the games really feel like they matter because they are elimination games, to see Michigan do what they did, not only to Auburn, who is probably in a little bit not a rebuild year, but like I don't think anybody expects Auburn to be like a top five team going to the Final Four. But what they did to Gonzaga really shocked me. I thought that Gonzaga team against Alabama looked really good in that game, and Ike looked dominant, and they were baby food. I mean, at the end of the day, it felt like there hasn't been a team in a while, I think, since maybe when we had Edie at Purdue, where it just felt dominant in physicality. Like you are overpowered. It's not even that they're better basketball players than you. You just can't even see the rim.
it's insane. They've built. Dusty May is a great coach. First of all, I mean, we knew that hire when he came over from FAU was a great hire. I mean, he's done a great job in the portal. Retaining guys that have already been there. But yeah, they had a great team last year. I mean, they lose Wolf, they lose I don't even why I know I'm blanking on his name, but everybody knows who he is from FAU. But
Oh,
yeah,
goal.
for Golden, yeah. Sorry, I don't know why I blanked on his name, but really impressive by him to come into the year in a really really competitive tournament with a lot of good teams and just dominate. Like if like that is the prime example of making a statement. So
Yeah.
that should be I'm like circled on my calendar after watching that game is Purdue Michigan. I'm excited to see what that looks like because those are like you said definitely top two teams probably now definitely in the Big Ten, but we'll see how that matchup plays out down the line.
Yeah, I don't remember the last time I saw a team dominate like that in one of these preseason tournaments, especially
It was
the big one is normally every year with a lot of ranked teams. So it's going to be really interesting to see what the stretch. Somebody's got to figure out a way to beat them. Hopefully, it's our Boilermakers, but they also look strong too. So we
Yep.
might do a collision course here with two elite basketball teams. But I think that was first and foremost probably the biggest headline coming out of there. But with that, we'll move into number two. I think you lead us out for this one.
There was a lot of hype around the Southeastern Conference coming into the year. They had obviously the reigning national champions. They had a lot of good programs in that conference, but as it stands right now, it's kind of up for grabs. Like there, a lot of these teams are unfortunately 2 loss, 3 loss teams. That's definitely a tribute to them playing some tougher competition out of conference. But I really do think it's a little bit up for grabs. Florida sitting at 5-3. Um, you know, Bama's 6-2. That's still really good. But I mean, Kentucky 5-3. Oklahoma at 6-2, 7-2. Tennessee 6-2. Are like nobody looks dominant there. So like it's a good thing for that conference. They're going to play a lot of tough games against each other. But as it stands, if you were to ask me who's coming out of it, I couldn't tell you. I really couldn't tell you. I could give you maybe 3 or 4 teams that I could maybe see. But a lot of stuff hasn't gone their way. I mean, Vandy's a big surprise out of them. They're actually the only one that doesn't have a loss. And if you told me that a few weeks ago, I would have been like, I don't know what you're talking about. But hey, good for them. They're hitting shots. I'm not worried about teams like Bama. Auburn looks pretty good. I mean, the Michigan game was unfortunate, but um, Arkansas, we'll see how they do. Tennessee, had a big win against Houston, but they're kind of up and down. That game was close too, and then obviously Florida, who's has a target on their back, which is tough, but they still retained their front court, so they're trying to get some things figured out. Terrible 3-point shooting team, by the way, but I think that's the key is coming into the season when you get a bunch of new faces, like who's gonna adjust the quickest, like who's gonna learn to play as a team, develop that chemistry. I think Michigan has done a great job of doing it out of the gates, but another example is a team like Florida who's kind of struggling a little bit, bringing in Lee and Boogie Fland. It's taken them a little bit just to get their feet under them, but like I said, this conference is a little head scratching at the moment, but a good team's going to come out of it. But I'm curious what you think.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it's Florida. Xavier Lee, I think, has really struggled, and that's kind of, I think, what's led to their downfall. I mean, you look at his shooting percentage, his points right now, losing to Duke on the road by one. I mean, it's a solid result. If they had gotten that win, maybe we'd be talking about him a little bit differently. But at the end of the day, Duke dominated for a lot of that game. If you did watch it, I mean, it got closer near the end, and obviously it came down to last possession, so it could have been anybody's game. But I think Duke let that one slip a little bit more than Florida kind of went and took it from them. So I think it's interesting. Yeah, I don't know who's coming out of this conference. I think one thing I've noticed is that these teams look very I don't know what the word is, inconsistent, but like streaky. So like Bama will look really good one game, and then
Mhm.
they'll go play another team and look like a different team. And
Right.
Auburn will look really good against St. John's, and then they'll play Michigan and get their ass kicked.
Right.
And Kentucky, I don't know what's going on with Kentucky. I think Kentucky's in big trouble. Like I genuinely, you are shooting 20% for something like that. I don't know what the exact percentage is, but it is something astronomical. And we talked about this when we did a preview on Kentucky against Michigan State. They are shooting terribly from three, and it's just not going to win you basketball games. They're off to a really rough start. Obviously, 5-2 right now, with the loss to Michigan State and then a loss to North Carolina. And it doesn't get any easier because you get Gonzaga, IU, St. John's, and then you open with Alabama.
Right.
So I think Kentucky's in a really, really bad spot right now, and obviously Jaden Lowe's not healthy, so they're not at full strength, and we'll see what they're like. We're like with that, but I think Tennessee, same thing. They won against Houston, and then they drop a game against Syracuse. Who Syracuse, by the way, is probably better than we all think. They've had a really rough start to the season with
Yeah,
their.
Melo's son's pretty good, huh?
Oh yeah, no, I
Ryan.
They've given
Yeah,
everybody a fight. They've lost
for
some
real.
close ones. But yeah, I think the SEC is very up for grabs. I think, there's going to be a team that eventually takes it. I don't know who that is right now. But one team's going to start really putting it together. It's
Right.
probably going to be someone like Florida who's returning a lot of their production, but
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see. And I agree with you. We saw that in the SEC ACC challenge, it being 9-7 this year, and it was 14-2
Yeah.
year. So this is a big change, and I think the SEC kind of got punched in the mouth this week. Even though they won the challenge, a lot of it was due to some of the weaker teams being able to beat some of the weaker teams in the ACC. But the top dogs seem to really run away with it for the ACC.
Struggled. But yeah, sometimes these out of conference losses are good for a team. So, it's how you respond, and maybe, someone will clip this video in March and be like, look at these idiots talking down on the SEC after they, you know, turn around their season after this and play a good conference conference play into the March Madness tournament, obviously. So conference to watch.
Yeah, no, I agree. So with that, we went from really good to kind of mid. Let's talk about a team or a conference in general that's just struggling. So third thing that we learned, the Big East is in big trouble, other than UConn. UConn obviously very good. Dan Hurley's going to be that way for a long time. Great coach, great roster that he's got there. They don't have Terrace Reed, and they're still competing. Really scary when they get him back, I think. Their defense that they've shown is really good. But other than UConn, St. John's has struggled. Creighton, who's usually a force, is not there this year. Marquette, I don't know where they've gone. Like completely downhill from teams we've seen in the past. But it's looking very slim that the Big East has some deep running teams come March.
I don't even really know where to start because it's bad, right? Obviously UConn's going to be there, great team, great program, but St. John's is there too. But after that, right, like Creighton took a massive fall, Marquette even farther. Like if Villanova is the fourth best team in your conference,
Is that who it is? Is the fourth
there's
best?
an issue. I don't know, but I'm just saying they're Villanova 6-1. Seton Hall is 8-1. Like Seton Hall, come on.
They're that
I
upset
mean,
you pick in the first round and then you don't take them in any other game.
yeah, exactly. But obviously the big top dog is UConn. So like really the target's on their back. It's really just, in my opinion, their conference to lose. I think St. John's is gonna have to play really well in conference play to make a statement and get into the tournament at the end of the year. Maybe, like I said, maybe they learn from these losses, but it hasn't looked great. they're not. Last year's tournament was also kind of disgraceful as well. Calipari's a good coach, but I mean that Arkansas team was not great. But
Yep.
yeah, I'm really more excited about UConn now that they're back because like I feel like it's more fun when Hurley's winning and people really just want to piss him off, especially as a Purdue fan. But yeah, they're an issue, and their only loss came without their big center playing, and they obviously it was Arizona. It was a really good team, but we talked about it before. They got Florida coming up, which is huge, big test, right? But you can almost afford to lose it with the strength of the conference, right? If
Yeah.
just looking at it, like the only game that they probably won't be favored in is on the road at St. John's in February. And really, like by the time that game comes, they could very well be favorite because they won all of their games before that. So it's looking rough for the Big East. Personally, I've never really thought they were really strong conference ever since Jay Wright left, and
Yeah.
you know, but yeah, a little bit of a dumpster fire over there, but really just UConn's to lose is my takeaway from that.
Yeah, obviously some work to do for the Big East. I mean, and St. John's, I'm really not sold on him. I think Rick Pitino obviously is a great legacy, is a great coach. They just have some of the same issues that they had last year. Like they shot the three better to start the year. Obviously, they played well against Bama, but still let up 103 points. I mean, I think the defense is not there. I think the shooting is not there, and they're a solid overall team. But I also question how much not having a real home court is starting to play a factor for them because like playing in Madison Square Garden's all good, but like some teams just turn up when the lights are brightest and they're not in the true road environment going into your campus, into your school. And some teams get into Madison Square Garden, like Bama just shot the lights out against them. And
Yeah,
the three games they've had, obviously the Iowa State game, 83 to 82, I think hurt them a lot. And that game alone showed me that they are good. They're going to be good. They're going to be okay. But I'm just worried that they have been struggling in a lot of these close games. Hopefully they can flip the script and start to win some of these, but they lost to the entire state of Alabama already. And then they had that Iowa State loss. So not a good start for St. John's. Hopefully they can pull it together. I like when Patino's in the picture, as well as like Izzo and some of these other coaches like Calipari. Just when all the good coaches are really, really coaching well, it's fun to watch. So hopefully they get
yeah,
back on track, but I don't know.
yeah, absolutely. All right, let's segue real quick because the other powerhouse conference that I think is really going to be interesting come down the line is the Big 12, and I really think it's kind of a combination of both the Big 10 and the SEC in the fact that there's a lot of good teams in that conference that are going to be competing for the best for the championship at the end of the year. Like Iowa State's good, Arizona's good. You could say BYU is good. I mean, Kansas is due for positive regression because they haven't played with their best player, right? So like these are still really good teams that you know we have to have one winner, so they're going to be hashing it out. I think it's really going to be interesting. Like you mentioned before, Iowa State has to go to West Lafayette, which is an interesting task for them because they haven't lost yet. They're beat the brakes off Syracuse, beat St. John's in a close one, beat the brakes off Creighton, right? So they've played well, and we'll see how they match up against Purdue because that's a really good test for them. But I mean, Arizona has made the case to be one of the best teams in the country. They absolutely deserve it. On the road at UConn, obviously Florida open up the year. They got to play Auburn, right? They got to play Alabama. So we'll see how we can revisit this conversation in a few weeks. But yeah, I can't really. These are another one where I can't really pinpoint a winner, but these teams are quality teams. Like they're going to win a few games in the tournament. Come down the stretch, and you know there's some other teams down there that could also make some noise. Like Texas Tech is in there, right? I mean, that's a team that was you and I talked up in the preseason, but they've struggled a little bit thanks to our Boilers. But um, that's another team that could make some noise down the line because they're still pretty talented. They just haven't gotten the results that they're looking for. So this is a good conference that, like I said, can't pinpoint a winner, but you're getting quality out of it. Kind of like I said, a mixture between the Big Ten and the SEC.
Yeah, they're gonna get a lot of teams in the tournament. I mean, you're looking at it right now. I mean, all these teams have star players, whether it's freshmen, whether it's transfers, whether it's just returning players that have been there. Um, yeah, my main question comes. I think Iowa State is really good. Arizona obviously really good. BYU, I think Kansas will be back there. I think I left Feast Week and these last couple weeks with a lot more questions than answers about Houston.
I didn't even say Houston. Yeah.
Very weird to say that because normally Houston is that like consistent juggernaut that kind of like wins in all the metrics and wins all the games they should, might be close with teams that are really good, but it tends to get it done. And not that they've like lost a lot of games, but they've just been in a dogfight every single game. And we've talked about it before. I mean, credit to them because they get, I think you pointed this out to me a couple weeks ago, like they just get the stop when they need it. It's really impressive, but it's hard to live that way game
Oh
in.
yeah. Absolutely. I mean, Samson, I mean, he ended our season on some chess match play last year, obviously, in the tournament, but their a players era tournament was a dogfight. Like they were in a tough one with Auburn even before that, and then they go to OTU, Syracuse, and then they unfortunately lose to Tennessee. But a lot of their games are being decided within 5 points, and it's hard to win consistently if it boils down to 5 points because there's a factor of luck involved, but you know you don't want to play them if in a close game because it usually swings in their favor because they're used to it now. But yeah, that's obviously the favorite going into the year out of the Big 12. And I can't believe I didn't mention them, but yeah, that's it. We'll see how they keep doing, how they fare in these close games because it's going to be a factor.
Yeah, no, I think it'll be really interesting. And Arizona's obviously like turning into a powerhouse here, turning a bit of a wagon. I do think Kansas is a team that like buy low. If you're ever gonna buy low in a team, I'm buying low in Kansas because the fact that they battled in these games without their best player, I mean, like I know they've got what's his oh my God, why am I
Lori,
Fjord Badunga, but they've got Badunga, but like he can only do so much on his own, and the teams they've been playing are excellent teams. So I think Kansas is in a prime position where, like sneakily, they've been able to get some of their depth players minutes against really good competition, and that's going to help you in the long run. I think they're going to sneak back into that conversation really well. Iowa State, obviously playing Purdue Saturday, like that's going to be a barn burner. Like I'm going to love to watch that game because it scares me. I mean, I don't know if Lipsy's playing. I think that's a big factor, obviously.
mm,
I don't know if you know anything about
I
that.
don't know, but
I mean, he's an amazing player, but other than that, like Jefferson's in there against TKR. They've got a good lineup. I really like every team in this conference, and it feels like they play really, really consistently good basketball, and it's fun to watch. Honestly, it's very fun to watch.
yeah,
We're playing tough schedules to start the year. These teams are going to be primed and ready to go come late in the season, so it's going to be exciting to see who runs away with this one or who wins it, probably in a close one, more likely.
yeah. And we'll segue into our last topic because this is kind of the talk of the sport at the moment. Um, and probably, you hear guys like Jay Billis and like all these big dogs talking about these freshmen and how they are the best class that they've ever seen in
Mm.
their history of covering the sport. And obviously, the best one probably comes out of the big. Actually, you can't even pinpoint a best one because they're all that good. But DeBanst is obviously the top dog. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't even know. Like, if you were number one, sitting in the NBA draft, who do you go for?
I mean,
I feel like you can't miss.
Boozer looks like a freak though. Like that is tough to
That's
come.
what I'm saying. Boozer, DeBansta, Caleb Wilson's good. Nate Ament, Koa Pete. Like, we can keep going and going and like
It's
if
impressive.
you if I'm an NBA GM and I'm terrible this year, I'm just like, cool, sweet, I can't miss. So yeah, I mean, we'll see actually because it's you know it's December, but when we talk in March, it's curious to see which one of them like has the best tournament because that's probably as close to an NBA you know, seen as it's going to get. Um, the bright lights, the bigger courts, the all the eyes, right? So that's something to watch. But who do you like from this class? Because you can't really go wrong.
Yeah, I mean, you really can't. And I think Rick Pitino said it best a couple weeks ago, where he actually said he thought that college basketball was at its peak right now. And I don't think he's exactly wrong with that. I think there's arguments to be made, NIL, there's some like pro players, there's guys that are 25, 26.
Yeah,
But removing all that off the board, sheer talent and level of basketball that is going on right now in college basketball, it does feel like it is at an all-time high, which sucks as Purdue fans that have a team that
yeah,
we're like,
exactly.
let's roll to the natty, and then everybody else is like, let's also roll to the natty with you. It's like, come on, like we faced that UConn
Give us
team.
a
That was not it.
break.
But yeah, this freshman class is unbelievable, and there's guys like I knew Boozer had a lot of hype coming into the season, but to see him put up, I think he's averaging like 29 in the last 3 games alone against big time competition, and you watch him and he just looks like a freak. Like I don't know how that kid's 18. I don't know how any of these kids are 18 years
He
old.
doesn't have a weakness. He just doesn't.
It's just impressive. Like Darius Acuff's another one who impressed me, and Michael Brown out of Louisville as well. Obviously a stud. Yeah, if you're an NFL GM, like you're getting ready to trade some of your players for picks this year, I think that you're going to see some of that. I mean, Giannis is
Oh
up,
yeah,
so we'll see what teams give up this year, but I genuinely can't tell you. I'd probably right now, I'd probably stick to Bansa, just raw talent, athleticism, size, what he brings. And you know that he's gonna be, he's a shoe in, really. Like
correct.
Boozer's probably a shoe in too. Some of these guys, DeBansa's probably, the one that is the most guarantee, but all of them feel like a guarantee right now.
No doubt, no doubt. And we could go on and on about each and every one of them, but I mean that's all I got. We're already off to a great start, and I'm curious. I'm really curious to see how these teams fare from non-conference over to in-conference because I feel like there's a lot more of you know ambiguity. Like games go back and forth. Good teams lose, right? So just getting started, and yeah, can't wait. Purdue's got a good one this weekend. I'm trying to think of the games that are coming up, but any ones you like
Yeah.
have circled for this weekend? I don't know.
Um,
It's a big football weekend, but
yeah,
Gonzaga and Kentucky,
that's a big one.
like Illinois, Tennessee, Duke, Michigan State. I got them. Like
Yeah.
pick your favorite. Like, those are all still great non-conference matchups. Like we're not even done yet, and then we begin conference play in a few weeks. So
Yeah, you gotta love the non-con in basketball because you go through the non-conference for football and normally it's like teams preparing for the season, beaten up, and in basketball it's just the opposite. It's like you're going toe to toe with the team you might see in the Elite Eight, the team you might see in the Final Four. Like it's
and there's so many of them. Like I feel like football, there's just like we got Texas, Ohio State, which is great, but like I don't know. Outside of that, I really can't. You know, it just doesn't happen as much with football. Obviously, there's a lot less games, but
no,
it's
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 on
good for
every
it.
night. So
It's good
every
for the
night you got
sport.
something to watch. I'm excited. It's gonna be fun, and we're gonna learn even more. Probably gonna come back to some of these and be like, "Hey, we got that spot on." Might come back to some of them and be like, "Yo, the Big East is looking like the best conference." Like for some reason.
Imagine.
But it's all going to be really interesting. Always fun to do these talks and go through what we learned because Feast Week really is one of those really enjoyable times of the year. If you are a big college basketball fan, you learn a lot about your team, you learn a lot about everybody else's team. You get to see a real deal tournament environment, and then the ACC SEC Challenge is fun with just two premier conferences going at it. Really wish the Big Ten did something like that, like at the same time, if Big Ten, Big 12 was going on, something like that, it would make it even more enjoyable. But I don't have 40 TVs, so maybe it's a good thing. But yeah, overall fun, and I can't wait for this weekend.
It's sir. Just started.